Are you ready to change your habits, sculpt your destiny, and light up your path to greatness? Welcome to the epicenter of transformation. This is Mick Unplugged. We'll help you identify your because, so you can create a routine that's not just productive, but powerful. You'll embrace the art of evolution, adapt strategies to stay ahead of the game, and take a step toward the extraordinary. So let's unleash your potential. Now, here's Mick.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another inspiring episode of Mick Unplugged. And today, we have a remarkable guest who's transformed countless lives through her powerful messages and extraordinary journey. She's a world-renowned motivational speaker, singer, songwriter, and author. And she now is one of my best friends on earth. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming the phenomenal, the incomparable, the mesmerizing, the motivating Michelle Blood. Michelle, welcome to Mick Unplugged. How are you doing today, dear?
Who are you talking about, Mick?
I am talking about you, the inspiring one. The inspiring one.
Well, g'day to you and to all your listeners and watchers. It's great to be here with you. You're a jolly, lovely fellow.
I try to be, at least on whatever day this is, right? I try to be, for sure.
Yeah, I've listened to quite a few of your podcasts. Very, very good. Very inspiring.
Thank you. Well, now since we're talking about inspiring, let's talk about you, Michelle. Like, you have an amazing story, and there's so much that I want to unpack as we go along, but you transitioned from rock singer to motivational speaker to like one of the best, most amazing people on the planet. How'd you get here, Michelle?
I'm not going to be corny and say by plane, but but I just did. And we are very irreverent all of the time.
Absolutely. My favorite people on earth.
I was a rock singer in Australia. Eventually I got a band together that I managed, lead singer, one of the main songwriters, and we got a record deal. And at one stage we toured nonstop, literally for 7 years. And if you've ever watched any documentaries about people on the road, you don't know how hard it is. It's so tough. But I loved it because in Australia back then, you had to have thousands of fans before you got a record deal. We toured, you know, did a lot of good support acts for big bands from overseas and, you know, but eventually, you know, we had our own support acts and we were going really well. One night, a truck driver fell asleep at the wheel and I was in the truck with him after a gig. We were driving about 14 hours from Brisbane to Sydney, you know, straight from stage at 3 a.m. I used to pack up all the gear. But at that stage, at last, I didn't have to wind all the leads and everything afterwards. Anyway, but I did. In the beginning days, I did everything. You know, we all had to pitch in because we didn't have row crew back then, but then we had great row crew and everything. But anyway, he fell asleep. He went into a telephone pole, and as the passenger, I had huge broken bones all over my body, and it was just, you know, smashed pelvis and all yucky stuff. And I was in that hospital for many, many months. You'd think that that would be the worst thing that could happen to a female Sheila rock singer in Australia who loves dancing and doing crazy stuff on stage. But it ended up being the best thing that ever happened to me, which is why I say to people, no matter what you're going through, whether it's emotional pain or you think you don't have enough money or whatever it is, this too shall pass. You can change your attitude about it because you never know what's going to happen. Because if we allow the things that look really negative to destroy us, well, then we're just destroying ourselves, and we can always make a rainbow out of it if we work hard.
Amazing. So, you know, Michelle, I've been following you for a while, and I love a lot of things about you, but one of the main things I love about you is the power of affirmations. And this is something that I literally do throughout the day. I know a lot of people say, you know, I'll speak affirmations in the morning. Well, that's great. Well, what if something bad happens at noon? Did you stop the affirmations then, right? So how did you discover the impact of affirmations and how have they transformed your life?
Thank you for asking, Mick. It is a really good, unique story. I was in the hospital and people were putting on cassettes of audiobooks and of positive thinking people. And for those that are young, Google audio cassettes if you don't know what that is. And I always had my little cassette player with me because if I ever had a song idea, I'd have to sing it onto the tape so that I would remember it. Because otherwise your short-term memory, just you have creative ideas. It's like, oh, what was I thinking? What was the chorus? And I thank Mick Jagger for that, because when I read in Rolling Stone many moons ago that's how he ended up writing Satisfaction. He woke up in the middle of the night. He had the chorus. He was going to go back to sleep and he went, oh, no, I'm going to forget it otherwise. And he quickly just sang it onto a cassette player and went to Keith Richards the next day and they wrote it in 10 minutes. Anyway.
Wow.
Because before that, I'd be like singing it over and over in my head. I don't know why. I guess I was having blonde moments back then. How am I going to remember this song idea? I'd write down the thing and, but singing it, you've got it forever. Anyway, so one of the tapes was, some of them were talking about affirmations. One of them was Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich, which is all about male millionaire entrepreneurs like Henry Ford in the 1920s. What had that to do with the young female rock singer? Nothing, you'd think.
Right.
However, the chapter on where he's speaking about, Earl Nightingale is actually speaking the audio book, gorgeous baritone voice he had. And it talked about Napoleon Hill's boy born deaf, his little infant son. And he would go into his little infant son's room every night and go, you can hear perfectly, and all these great affirmations. And in the marrow of my bones, Mick, I knew what I was listening to was true. I sort of did a recalibration in my mind of all the things that I'd created in my life through sheer willpower and just never saying no, never saying I can't do that ever. My whole life, I've never been I can't do that sort of gal. So I said, okay, listen, I listened to it over and over again. Okay, the affirmation has to be stated in the now. It has to be emotionalized and it has to be what you want to have happen, even if it hasn't happened. So because I wasn't healed, my first lyric was, I am healed. I know I am. I love myself. I am my friend. None of those things were true, but I wanted them to be true. So I had the perfect affirmation. Yay. However, the doubting mind kept spitting it out. The reason everyone says you've got to emotionalize the affirmation is because the short-term memory, or call it the doubting mind, if it goes into the short-term memory and the doubting mind spits it out, well, then it doesn't go into the subconscious mind where it needs to be fed. I mean, everyone knows now, neuroscientists, quantum physics, they've proven everything is consciousness now. They've proven that we are just a hologram. They've proven that black holes aren't really what we thought they were, all in the last 3 years. It's
right.
Incredible. But back then, no one had proven any of this, but I believed it anyway. I just went, it's not working. I'm not going to do it. Because if you look at your circumstances and they are the opposite of what you're affirming, your doubting mind's going to go, you're full of it.
Right.
This is BS. It's just not going to work. Because you're a nice boy, I won't curse on your show.
That's what we're here for, Michelle.
Oh, okay. Well, in that case, there's a whole lot of shit. Yeah, they're just words.
Exactly.
So a couple of weeks after that, Mick, I was still listening to this book and I was like, there must be something I can do. Epiphany time. Drum roll, please. You're a singer-songwriter. You can't get a song out of your head. You can't get a jingle out of your head, which is why advertising agencies spend billions a year on jingles, which I had written for advertising agencies over the years, but I never told my band members because it was very uncool to sing jingles. But it was good money. They didn't mind when I was getting new drum kits and stuff. Yeah. I said, okay, my brother Stephen out, because no internet back then, you actually had to go to a record store. And I said, get me some positive affirmation music songs. He said, there's nothing. He said, there were in the woo-woo shops, the new age shops, there were some affirmations on cassettes, but they're all talking. And so I just put on an empty cassette. I'll sing it myself. I am healed. I know I am. I love myself. I am my friend. And I sang it over and over again and filled up the cassette. And then I would just listen to it every day. I didn't have to sing along anymore because what was happening was the lyrics were going into the left hemisphere of the brain, the affirmations, and the melody just from my voice was going into the right hemisphere of my brain. So then it goes, they've proven now, it goes 300 times faster straight into your subconscious mind. You don't have to believe in the affirmation. All you have to do is listen. And that's why Australians eat Vegemite, because everyone else in the world thinks it tastes disgusting. But we all listen to, we're happy little Vegemite, as happy as can be.
I'm learning so much right now, Michelle. Like, this is amazing.
Yeah. So, it's just such a great and easy way to have the affirmation go straight into your subconscious mind. But now I've written them for little babies, self-esteem songs for kids with a Z, so many albums to do with every topic under the sun, from money to success to healing to creating miracles, just everything. And it was so much fun. I never intended for this music, Mick, to go out to the public, because I'm used to going into a 48 channel studio mixing desk, like the old days when I first started recording music. We had big 2-inch tapes and, when we have to mix the music, we'd all have to stand there with the faders working out where we wanted it to fade. It was extremely fun. It's so much easier now, but musicians out there, you can't imagine how creative it is and how high you get to mixing it with the engineers, to getting the fade right, doing it the old-fashioned way. To do a 12-inch dance mix, they would have to get tapes. There's a drum loop, then tape them all together. It was incredibly challenging to do. I learned so much about engineering back then, but that's not the point. Get back to this. Yeah. So what happened was some news reporters found out about my healing because I was a singer over there, and they started doing interviews. And I always would say yes to an interview because, you're a rock band. You've got to do interviews. You've got to do your marketing.
Right.
But all they wanted to talk about was the affirmation music. And I was like, they weren't asking me questions about other things, about the band or what are you up to next. It was all about these affirmation songs. And so from me being in these magazines and on TV doing interviews about it, there's promoters for rock and there's promoters for speakers, for authors. Who knew? Mm-hmm. I didn't. We want you to come and sing, and you'll be singing and you'll be sharing the stage with Dr. Wayne Dyer, Dr. Deepak Chopra, Bob Proctor. And I'm like, who are they? Who in the hell are they? I never heard of them because that wasn't in my world. My world was a totally different trajectory. But anyway, they offered me so much money. I said yes. I just thought it was insane that they're offering me so much money to do a little bit of a talk and then get affirmation songs. So they said, you don't need your band, just mix the music. And I said, I always do that anyway. And they said, and then you just sell the music at the back of the room. And I said, what? Because we weren't allowed to do that back in the day. These days bands can sell all their stuff. You weren't allowed to. The promoters and the people wouldn't let you sell your own stuff. Anyway, that's another thing that you can do now, which is really cool. You can merchandise your own stuff. So I said, oh, okay. They said, make some CDs up. I made 500 thinking, oh, my God, I'm doing 6 cities. I'll be coming back with a whole lot of CDs. I wasn't being negative. I just didn't know the business. Mm-hmm. And I was getting them all up on stage to sing Magnet to Money song and dance along. And we had the lyrics up on the big screen. And by lunchtime that day, all the CDs had sold. There were 3,500 people who had paid over $300 each for a daytime seminar. Welcome to a new world, Michelle. I was like, holy crap, this is insane. Anyway, so that's how I ended up doing that. But I still ended up, because Bob Proctor and his wife loved my stuff so much, they flew me to Kuala Lumpur to do a big event with them, paid me great money. And he said, we want you to do every seminar I ever do. You've made a difference to the stages. It's incredible. Anyway, so I ended up running his business from Kuala Lumpur. I ended up living there for 3.5 years. I ended up having hit records. I got great session musicians to work with me, and I ended up still doing my rock and roll, but also still doing the events and seminars. So it was fascinating that, with no intention of doing that, but uplifting so many people just through them singing and dancing and having a little chat with them. I got deeper and deeper into meditation practice. And, once you are at a higher frequency, because it is a speed, well, then you attract other frequencies, people, places, and things that are at that frequency higher or just a bit lower. And when you're at that high frequency, which I was totally at then, my whole head was always buzzing. I had this heart glow. Good things just didn't stop. They just kept happening and happening and happening. I was offered so many gigs. It was insane. The next chapter of my story is a little different. Ooh.
Let's go to that next chapter.
I had this heart glow, as I said, and I didn't know if it was soul sick or I was looking for something outside of myself or inside of myself. I started reading Yogananda's Autobiography of a Yogi, and I was like reading every book I could get on metaphysics and mysticism, and I was in love. That was my new world. And I was talking to Bob about it after a gig one day, and he said, I think you're looking for an enlightened teacher. He said, I had one for 1.5 years. Leyland Vanderlock or something, Canadian guy. And he said, it changed my life. And he said, but I haven't found an enlightened teacher since then. And so I went on a quest to find an enlightened teacher. It took 14 years to find one. And I found one. Well, actually, I found a couple, one in Japan and one in India. But the one in Japan kicked me out because I was a woman and he didn't understand English. And the one in India, I just didn't feel a connection to him. And so 14 years later, I came to America to live and to begin to do seminars and concerts and stuff here. And then about 3 years after that, I met my teacher through my friend Johnny, because his teacher was her teacher. This lineage, and he'd left the body, his teacher. And so everyone, students of these, and they're American people, said, oh, one of the students has become enlightened. So everybody wanted to go and see her, because once you've had an enlightened teacher and you feel that light transmission, you need their assistance to assist you to go further. And so they'll do anything to find another enlightened teacher. I'd never found one, but the minute I walked in, I felt my eyes tearing up. And I saw her hands glowing, and she's just sitting on a little desk like I am now on a small little stage. It's about 60 people, one little light or something. And I'm like, is this effects in the room? But there's not. And I'm like, this is crazy. But she agreed. She took me on as a student, and I went off the grid, Facebook, everything, and studied with her for over 12 years. I eventually became enlightened, awakened myself. So now I teach people meditation practice and mysticism. I want people to be successful. I don't want anyone to be poor. I want everybody to have no suffering in their life, because I love what Yogananda said. He said, I love the West because the West know how to make money, but they need mysticism. They need spirituality. And India needs more money because they've got plenty of spirituality that they fight about all the time. So he said, that's why I love America, because you're open to it. He said, I don't believe in poverty. He said, I believe in my students having a roof over their head, plenty of food to eat, and to be able to travel this beautiful world. And my teacher was the same. She believed all of that was really important. And so do I, because I've been a poor rock singer where even Michael Hutchins, when we did a gig with them in Melbourne, even he borrowed money from my road crew to buy a burger before they'd made it big in America. You broke.
I love it, Michelle. You have one of the most amazing programs out there, Creating Magnetic Success, and you've been hitting on that a little bit. What are some of the core principles in this program? And then more importantly, for the listeners out there, what can someone do today to start implementing a couple of those core principles?
I'm going to give quite a few lovely absolutely free gifts of my products away to your listeners today. However, one of the things you can do immediately is stop complaining. Of course, listen to the affirmation music, watch my visualization programs. They're awesome. Our apps are amazing. We've just done the world's first manifestation video book. No one's ever done anything like that before. I wrote Manifestation Through the Power of Mysticism, and then the book, and then I did the audio program. And then Holly, who has worked with me developing the Magnet to Money app, which is super cool, we decided to do videos to it, visuals. So as I'm speaking on each chapter, and every chapter is about an amazing topic, your doubting mind hasn't a moment, knucklehead. It doesn't have a moment. Can't be a scallywag at all to shoot out the positive, because you're getting the images, you're listening to the voice. And at the end of each chapter, there's a music video with one of the affirmation songs that goes with the topic of that chapter. And so you're getting a whole brain experience. So you're learning so much faster about these principles and how to change your life and getting light transmitted to you instantaneously. It's incredible. So I'd highly recommend that. And if you don't even want to pay $19 and it's just one-time fee for that, you can get our free app, Affirmation Power. That's all it's called, Affirmation Power app, for free. So these apps are great because even if you don't, like you said, then at 12 o'clock, you're like, oh, I'm not going to bother with the affirmations. You get notifications so that you get reminded. One of my students was in a bank the other day and she forgot, she had it on her ringtone. She forgot to turn it down. And she said, the bank was pretty empty that day and pretty churchy, pretty choiry. And she said, and my phone goes off, I'm a magnet to money. And they're all like in the bank. And the teller said, that is so cool. What is that song?
Love it.
You get to be reminded, you know, even if you don't feel like it, and you could embarrass yourself and make everybody laugh in the grocery store or the bank.
Hey, and it is true because as a subscriber, I can tell you, number one, I just love Michelle's voice. But then number two, it is good to have some reminders throughout the day. But Michelle's voice is what gets me through the day. So I wanted you to know that, Michelle.
Oh, thank you, Mick.
You got it. You got it. So new book.
Yeah, the manifestation video book.
Yes. So the video book.
And I've also got the video book as a book. If people go to magnettosuccess.com, you can get the video book and the audio of the video book and the actual book itself. You get all three.
I didn't even have to ask my questions, Michelle.
Because I love to read books. Not everybody does. Some people prefer an audio book, or sometimes they do feel like reading a book. So I've got it in every format that there is available so that you can really enjoy it. Then, of course, Polly helped create the app for it. So the younger ones that prefer, they don't mind watching a video or a movie on a little screen. I don't come from that school. I like a big screen.
Agree.
You download it onto your computer and then you can watch it, more of a cinematic effect.
So you just told us where we can get the book. Give me 2 highlights. Why does everyone need to go get this book right now? And then I'm going to tell you also why you need to get this book right now.
Well, I think because there's so many things in life that you don't realize you have the potential of creating. This world is like Play-Doh. It really is. If you understood how consciousness works and when you feed yourself those good thoughts, if there is anything in your life that's lacking right now, if you're complaining, you're afraid of not getting something you want, or you're afraid of losing something that you've already got, well, that means that you're in fear mode. And fear is a lower oscillation. And I know that every single person on this planet can have a better life. And all they've got to do is listen and have these beautiful images change their thoughts, change your life. I know Louise Hay said that like 80 million years ago, but it is true. Yeah. So anyway.
No, I love it. And I think you hit on where I was going to go. I think the reason that everyone, especially the audience of Mick Unplugged, needs to purchase this book, I don't care if you're audio, video, physical book, whatever, is the biggest reason that most people aren't successful, and whatever term success means to them, is because they talk themselves out of it. Michelle's book helps you overcome that. The positive affirmations, the overcoming the fear that you're giving yourself. You need Michelle's book. I promise you. It's a book that I continuously look at and that I'm looking for guidance, because we're all going to have bad moments of a day, of a week, or whatever. But how do you act? How do you respond to those bad moments? Michelle, not only her book, but if you follow Michelle, check out her website, all of her social activity, she's giving you the key to challenging those bad moments, because that, to me, that's what life is about. Michelle's a prime example. She could have just said, you know what? Life hit me and I don't want to do anything about it except complain about life and it's someone else's fault. But doggone it, she didn't do that. And that, to me, that's what Michelle is all about. So again, the book, follow her on social, because again, I'm going to say this one more time. The key to life is how you respond to those negative situations or those challenging moments. And Michelle is all about that. So Michelle, I thank you more than anyone.
Well, thank you, Mick. And if people go to michelleblood.com, MICHELEBLOOD, and it's not a rock name, it's my daddy's name, it's Irish, michelleblood.com/Mick, you will get my favorite chapter from the manifestation video book is, Are You a Mystic? Because I think it's really interesting for you to ask yourself questions and to see where you are at in consciousness. The Magic of Affirmation Power book, and my favorite album that I did with Bob Proctor, actually. He wrote quite a few of the affirmation lyrics for Songs for Success album, the entire album, all yours for free. So you can experiment with it. And what I like to say, Mick, if I could just say one more thing, is somebody might say, oh, I don't really believe in all of this and I don't want to get deep into mysticism and all that sort of thing. Well, what's the worst thing that could happen? The worst thing that could happen, you don't have to get into all that. The worst thing that could happen is the best thing. You become wealthier, you become healthier, you become happier, and you stop complaining. So you have nothing to lose and everything to gain from educating your mind and your heart to blossom and to realize that all things are possible for you and you are never, ever alone. Ever.
That's it.
Ever.
That is it. Ever. Michelle, you already know this, but you're amazing. Thank you for taking some time with us. And we're going to have to do this again. I want to go deeper into
I'd love to. We could go deeper.
If you're open, we're going to do this again.
Yeah, we can go deeper for those who want to go deeper into mysticism.
Let's go. Don't be afraid. Let's go. Mwah. Michelle, thank you so much for joining us. And again, to all the listeners, remember, your because is your superpower. Go unleash it.
Thanks for listening to Mick Unplugged. We hope this episode helps you take the next step toward the extraordinary and launches a revolution in your life. Don't forget to rate and review the podcast, and be sure to check us out on YouTube at Mick Unplugged. Remember, stay empowered, stay inspired, and stay unplugged.